Hello, my name is Paul Lee. I'm doing interviews for the Jacob Lenhoff Tours America podcast. Um, those who want to know is why did I start the group therapy podcast? It started out years upon years ago. I was back in the day of public access television. I did, you know, do that whole thing there for a while. Moved out of that town that had the public access. It was always in the back of my mind. And then I started during the pandemic because I had nothing else to do like everybody else. And my son and I started working on the interview. We just started talking and talking about random stuff. And then we started interviewing people and it started to snowball. And then I had been talking with a friend of mine about being a horror host. And he was like, man, do it. You should. And so I started looking into that. And I started noticing that there were really good people out there doing horror hosting, and those are some feet I do not want to step on. So I went the other route. I started doing Saturday morning cartoons, which became Saturday morning serials, which then spawned into Sci Fridays, which I brought, because I love old sci-fi television shows, and it just kept going from there. Then I recently started the Anime Source, which is a take on my old store from years ago, when I sold anime and manga and stuff like that. Before anybody else carried it around here, I was carrying it and renting it and selling it, and I made a decent living on it. But that's what spawned into the anime source because I want to bring old school anime that is not on TV anymore. People forgot about it or whatever, and I wanted to keep it going. Um, you ask, why did I love movies. I'm a huge movie nut. I've been, since I was a little kid. My grandparents would take me to movies. My uncles would take me to movies. I'd go to the video store back in the day. I'd walk to the video store. I was one of the first kids around that I know of that had their own VCR. So I loved movies and I loved cartoons. So I was recording all this stuff back in the day and going from there. And I have always been fascinated, just mad fascinated by a lot of the stuff that, you know, filmmaking and things like that. And I became entrenched and I became friends with filmmakers and stuff like that. And it's just something I've loved. I'm a kid that grew up with little to no parental advice. My parents were never home, so I watched what I wanted to watch when I wanted to watch it, and it's completely inappropriate stuff for the kid my age when I was. Um, so yeah, I grew up loving why we named the show Saturday Morning Serials is I was fascinated by the fact that one is so much of that stuff disappeared over the years, and the serialized nature of a lot of it, because I grew up, with the Batman, the TV series, and MASH and all that fun stuff like that. And then when Flash Gordon, the cartoon started, that first season was great because it was all serialized. They brought it back the second season; it was not. But I am I do like miniseries. I not a big fan of like the Roots or watch Roots when I was in school. Thornton Borders and stuff like that. But I did get into like the horror sci-fi series, miniseries like The Stand and It and stuff like that. I really got into those when I was younger, and to the point where I was one of the few kids that was I would take my stuff to school. My teachers would let us watch it. Um, Completely inappropriate stuff to be watching in school, but teachers trusted me for some weird reason, and I don't know why to this day. So, I am the owner of my own store. It's called RU Game. Technically, it started in 2011 online. It became a physical store in 2012. I've been going at it for a long time. I've been in this business since I was 15. I recently turned 50, so I've been doing this for 35 years. I don't know. Um, anything else at this point. Um, I've gotten some high end books through. People always ask me that. I've got like first appearance of Punisher, first Wolverine, first Gambit, first X-Men, first so many books that I've had come through here. Lots and lots of things to do. Um, my podcast. One of the things I like to do is I love to interview artists. I just like interviewing people. Period. I've got some stuff that's been on the back burner forever on some really fun people I want to interview. We just have never been able to nail it down because people in general, just different, what we call outsiders and stuff like that, fascinate me. So I'm a big fan of wrestlers and artists and comic book artists and writers and producers and actors and actresses and direct. It's fun. It is. It's something I enjoy. I really like just talking to people, and I've learned something almost every episode I've ever done. So, um, what's the dumbest thing I've ever did on my podcast? I screwed up bad. I did an interview with one of my buddies who's a comic book artist, and I had. He's like, oh, about an hour. I'm like, okay. So I ate an edible. Um, it kicked in about an hour into the show, and we went almost 3 hours. So I was super high by the time it got done. I had to ask, and he's like, "No, you seem fine." And yeah, I was like, "Wow." I'm thinking, and I'm like, I go back and watch it. I'm like, no, never be able to tell that I was ever messed up, and I did it. I was able to get through it. But yeah, the dumbest thing I've ever done on the podcast was I did it while on an edible. So, um, what was the best video game system ever made? PlayStation 2. Good God, it has so many freaking games and so many great games. But my favorite game system of all time is Dreamcast. Not region locked, plays burnt games, plays emulators. Tell me, it was a great system, severely underrated. But just sheer amount of games, the sheer amount of games that I enjoy is PS2. I do love like my Nintendos, Super Nintendo, but there's something about the PS2 and Resident Evil and Silent Hill and Clock Tower and Tekken and Rumble Roses. Just so many awesome games for that system. So, what as you know, you asked me what some of my favorite games are. Love Resident Evil. Huge. Been playing Resident Evil since day one. I bought that back in the day, and my favorite game of all time is right back here, and that is the X-Men game, the arcade cabinet. And then, if you can look, you can see over here, and that is my Star Wars arcade cabinet. Those are two of my all-time favorite games. I love both of those. So it's definitely one of the ones that it depends on my mood, though, too, what I'm into. I don't get to play a whole lot of video games anymore because, just work, and I don't do stuff till late. Now everything's got to be, you got to wait for updates and everything else like this when I can just walk over and throw some money, or not even throw the money in, but go over here, as I say over here because I can do this backwards. I go to Walker, clip it on, and play. No worries. So, why do I like posting old movies and stuff to my channel? Because so much of this stuff is lost. I hate, and I do it all the time. I watch videos on lost media almost daily, which is sad. But I hate the thought of lost media. There's some movies that I don't like and I could give two craps about, but I do believe they should exist. Just because, they're not good or the subject matter or something like that. I may not watch them, but I'm 100% behind the fact that they do have the right to exist, and that's why I like doing that, because it definitely keeps the stuff out there, and especially stuff that people don't remember. That's one of my favorite things is finding stuff people like, oh my god, I forgot that existed, and they'll go nuts looking for stuff. So, and then that's why I do it. Um, who would be an actor I'd love to have on my show? Um, Good God. You know, I'd love to meet Bruce. I've met Bruce Campbell. I'd love to have him on the show. You know, um, there's some huge big name people, but um, I'm not about talking to those. I'm more of a B movie guy. A lot of these people I've met and talked to over the years. Like I'd love to have Tiffany Sheffis back on my show. I would love to have Brink Stevens, stuff like that. Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs. Those might be my absolute number one and number two. I'd love to have like Jamie Lee Curtis or Pam Grier or something like that, but that's never going to happen. But yeah, so uh, what are some of my favorite movies? Absolute favorite movie number one, Empire Strikes Back. Um, but I don't even count Star Wars anymore because I am a huge Star Wars fan. I live a Star Wars fan. I will die a Star Wars fan. I don't care what people say. Disney killed it. I don't give a shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but oops. I don't care. I love Star Wars. End of discussion. But that's being onto itself. Uh, I love the movie Logan. I think as the best comic book movie, one of the best movies. Period, hands down. End of discussion. Some people are like, you're. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not. Literally, I think the best Marvel movie is Winter Soldier, and the best comic book movie, period, is Logan. I'm a big fan of I love Hellraiser 2 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and lots of horror movies. But I'm also a fan of like obscure movies that no one's ever heard of. I'm a big fan of like all the Conan knockoffs and big Mad Max fan. So I love the Mad Max knockoffs. Um, God, I can't even tell you what my favorite movie. It all depends on the day, I guess. But it is what it is. I like I said, I'm a fan. I will go to my grave. A Star Wars fan, but I'm also a horror movie fan and action movie fan. Love my kung fu movies. Um, you know, Master of the Flying Guillotine, Crippled Masters, and stuff like that are some of my favorite kung fu movies. And it's not, yes, I love Enter the Dragon, Chinese Connection. I love the Jackie Chan movies and stuff like that. Drunken Master. But I'm more a fan of the more obscure stuff, especially like the uh, you know, martial arts movies, and stuff with Shuni Chiba and whatnot. I do love all that stuff. Um, I'm just I'm happy to do this, and I'd love to be able to give you a more distinct answer on some of these things, but to be honest, it all depends on the day. Um, I've been on an anime kick, and I'm like, this is the best anime ever. And then the next day, no, this is the best anime ever. This TV show over here, oh, it's a great TV show. No, this is the best TV show. It all depends. Because like I said, serialized nature of it. I was a big fan. I grew up on Doctor Who, and those early Doctor Who's they were serialized. I mean, you'd get like one arc was like 20 episodes, and then it would go to another arc which was only like 5 episodes, or one off here, one off there, and then a full series. So I don't know, probably Doctor Who might be my favorite all-time serial. That's about the closest one. The old school Doctor Who. The newer stuff isn't quite as serialized as the old stuff. But Tom Baker, Tom Baker's the man. The Doctor who I grew up on. So I know it's bad because by the time he was done in Britain, I was just being born around that time. But we didn't get it till later here in America, so I was big into that. Shit, one of my favorite movies is Godzilla, so whatever. So I do appreciate this, Jacob. You can use this, have fun with it, run with it, and you take care. And Remember, Captain says, see y'all there.